The entire right-wing media and the entire Republican Party are right now covering up the Epstein files. They are protecting very disgusting people who abused children and women. And these people who did these evil things are being protected by the MAGA movement, by Donald Trump, by our government, by the entire right-wing media. And I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to show you the proof right in your face so you can understand exactly what's happening right now. First of all, we start off with ground.news. Ground.news gives you news bias data. Now, if you look right here, we can see that the side of the media that is most interested in talking about Jeffrey Epstein is not the right. The right only has 39% compared to 35% left-leaning and 26% center. So only 75 of the recent stories are coming in from the right wing. Now, the reason that this is important is because right-wing media, they are businesses, right? They make money, just like most of American media, by providing entertainment. People think that news media in this country is about informing, and certainly you can get informed by watching the news, but in America, our news media is broken. Mainstream media, especially independent media. So what we really have is, it's really entertainment media. Right? It's entertainment media because the focus is not on informing you, it's about entertaining you, getting you to click, getting you to get engaged, right? Rage farming. That is ultimately what the business model is all about. The way they make money is by views. The way they maximize views is by engagement. The way they maximize engagement is by feeding you what you want to hear. So, the fact that right-wing media is trailing in a big way left-wing media on this Epstein story says that all those people on the right who are talking about, we want to know the truth, we want to protect the girls, whatever, as I've been saying repeatedly, they do not care. What they really care about is seeing prominent Democrats in prison. And I'd have no problem seeing an American politician in prison, whether they're Democrat or Republican. But that's not the point. The point is they're saying one thing, but the truth is something else. If this was a hot story on the right, you would be seeing, and basically, let's put it this way. If what the people on the right are saying was true, that they really care about this stuff as much as they do, you would see far more coverage coming from the right than the left. Right? That's just the bottom line. They would not be trailing behind like this. But let's dive a little bit deeper. That's just really surface level. So let's look at some of these other stories. So here we have a story. House Speaker starts August recess early to avoid Jeffrey Epstein votes. Again, you see this little tiny bar on the right. Right? So right-wing media is actively covering up this pedo ring, right? Because they were going to vote to release these files, right? The Republican Party blocked the release of the files multiple times, and yet I don't see them being afraid that they're going to lose their elections. The same people saying that they care so much about the Epstein files will vote for these people, just like how they voted for Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, a good friend of a child sex trafficker who is in prison right now. Matt Gaetz, who's well known in the Republican Party to love barely legal, and in some cases seemingly not even legal, very young females. That information alone should be enough to disgust. If the Republican voting base really cared this much about stuff, that should leave so much of a bad taste in their mouth. That they're like, listen, I don't know if you did anything with underage girls, but the guy seems a little disgusting. And I'm a conservative and I care about family values and things like that. And I'm definitely, my radar for anything disgusting. If you're friends with a child sex trafficker, I'm not voting for you. if the Republican Party, the voters, were who they claim to be, Matt Gaetz would have struggled to win. I'm not saying he wouldn't have won, but he would struggle to win. Instead, he won his election handily. Because, again, they don't care about the girls or the children or child sex trafficking. It's about getting Democrats in prison. So, here you have Republicans, once again, blocking the files that the right wing claims to care so much about. And what does right wing media do? They don't want to report on it. They are actively suppressing the story from their audience. So if we look at the coverage, we can see 50 right wing versus 97 left wing and 110 center. And just for reference, here's another unrelated story. So this is Hagsef signal messages came from email classified as secret. Remember he was playing games like, oh, it wasn't secret information or all kinds of stuff, right? And here we have this bombshell clearly showing that he violated the policies of how to handle sensitive information, which put their mission at risk. I mean, we all knew that, but this is further confirmation. Look at the amount of right-wing outlets that covered it. 0. Right? So Donald Trump can hire a buffoon cabinet and get away with it because when they screw up, right-wing media covers for it. They either lie about it or they don't report on it. So at the end of the 4 years, the perception that Republican voters have of Trump's term kind of differs from the reality. Because they'd have listened to 4 years of being told about how things are great, it's so awesome. Now their lives, in most cases, will not be affected in a positive way because of Trump. So it's not like they're actually experiencing it. But what they're experiencing is hearing every day how great Trump is, how wonderful he's doing. He's securing the borders. He's making America great again and this and that and whatever, right? But they're not hearing the truth about how Donald Trump hires losers and drunks in his cabinet. Let's look at right now. This is July 23rd. And let's look at who's been covering the Epstein files cover-up that Donald Trump is doing. Not the administration, Donald Trump. He's the one doing it. So if we look here, as I've said many times, right-wing media is basically state news, state TV. That's what they are. They exist to put out the government's message, right? Government doesn't want to talk about the Epstein files. They want to cover it up. They want distractions. They want to talk about Obama. So what do you see on Fox News? Obama firing Haba's replacement, talking about this murder. Here we have finally one story talking about Epstein. Then we go back to Obama again. Obama. Now they want to talk about Hunter Biden. Obama again. Newsmax. Tulsi Gabbard, Russiagate. Obama. They got one Epstein video here. Obama again. Think about the ratio of Obama to Epstein. They're talking about stuff from over a decade ago. Remember, this is right-wing media. They're going to put out what they think their audience wants to see. So the audience that claims to be so concerned about these girls and women, apparently what they want to talk about is Obama. And isn't that what I said this is all about? It's not about the girls and women. It's about seeing Democrats in prison, right? And Donald Trump knows this, so that's why he's giving them what they really want. He knows we don't want the Epstein files, right? Because I'm in it, and I'm not trying to go down. I know what you really want. You want to see Democrats in prison? Okay, Russiagate and this hooker, we got it. We got him. Right? Okay, so let's move on from mainstream media. Really quickly, we can look at Blaze TV, Hunter, Obama. Got one Epstein video here. Oh my goodness, look who decided to show up. James O'Keefe. And who's he talking about? Not Trump's cover-up. They're talking about Pam Bondi. Let's talk about Pam Bondi. Take the heat off of Donald Trump. Not a lot of Epstein coverage on Blaze TV. Timcast. Now, he does so many videos. He might be an outlier. Of course, he's going to try to spin things, but you will see, I assume. There it is, Obama, of course. It's putting out the state media line. There's an Epstein video. It's from 3 days ago, though. A lot has happened since 3 days ago, and he hasn't found anything that he feels like covering regarding Epstein for 3 days. Steven Crowder, the guy who likes to put his penis on other men's faces and dress up like a woman. So, absolutely zero Epstein coverage. In contrast, it's not that he's not interested in Epstein. He did a video 2 months ago, flashback busting the Jeffrey Epstein suicide myth. So he's having a laugh at it. And then 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, Epstein, 5 hard facts you need to know. 3 years ago, how many people were allegedly involved? Right? 5 years ago, myth busted. So, it seems that Steven Crowder used to have a lot of interest in the Epstein files, but for some reason, he's not interested anymore. Mr. Israel himself, talking about the mainstream media's fake news, Biden's war on cops, talking about Hunter Biden. So he is doing what the government wants him to do. There he is, Obama, right? Again, our government is currently covering up the Epstein files. Pam Bondi has the files. Whatever those files are, right, whatever they show, she has the files that people want. And they did a switcheroo and said, okay, you want these files? Okay, we're going to get you some other files from the grand jury testimony. So, to cover up their cover-up, the government wants their media agents to talk about Obama instead. And what is Ben Shapiro doing? Mr. Israel himself talking about Obama with a nice scary photo in the shadows, making him look like he's really some evil guy or something. We got to go back to 4 days to see Epstein. So nothing interests. All the breaking news that we've had, Ben Shapiro, no interest. Then he goes to talking about Jill Biden. Now we're 7 days talking about Newsom. Then he's talking about Barack Obama. This, ladies and gentlemen, is state media. So let's move on to Mr. Tatum. As a former law enforcement officer, you know he's going to have a lot of interest in criminal activity. And what do you know? He's talking about Obama. Obama in prison. So we know who Officer Tatum works for. He works for the government. Obama again. And where are the Epstein videos? Right-wing media is actively covering up for a pedophile ring. Right-wing media is helping in a major way to make sure that the elites who abuse those girls and women get away. Because the government is covering up right now. And if right-wing media can keep their audiences distracted long enough, they can delete all the files and get people to forget and move on. And that means that the elites, like perhaps Clinton, for sure Donald Trump, will get off. So ironically, right-wing media is protecting elite Democrats while pretending to be going after elite Democrats. Right? They're going to do all this Obama, 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 and then it's probably going to amount to nothing. Right? Just like how left-wing media is leading their audiences on, like they did just before the election, talking about nobody's going to Trump rallies, and then all of a sudden Trump wins. Right? That is how the game is played, folks. Project Veritas. They love to do all the exposés. Where's the Epstein exposé? You mean they couldn't find out how to get somebody on camera? Somebody linked to Epstein? Somebody who was at Mar-a-Lago? Oh, let's not investigate Mar-a-Lago. We might see something we don't like. But maybe he could get somebody to hidden camera a Clinton. Apparently no interest in that. I wonder why. Lasse Berholt. Is he even a real person? This guy has been a major right-wing propaganda source, but he kind of vanished after the election, so who knows if he's even a real person. Dan Crenshaw. We know he's definitely not talking about Epstein. He hasn't posted anything for 5 months. Matt Gaetz. Oh, he's definitely not talking about Epstein, because he's probably on the files himself. I'm being facetious, but he's the kind of person that you would find on a list like that. Nothing for 2 months. Conservative twins. Certainly they care about this. They're talking about illegals, wokeness, Joy Reid. So these guys really don't have much interest in Epstein at all. They have one video here. The View says the unthinkable about Epstein list. Audience is speechless. Got another video from 11 days ago. Dan Bongino possibly quitting. So there does not seem to be a lot of interest in this topic on the Conservative Twins channel. Liberal Hive Mind. Let's see how much Epstein videos. Oh, Obama. So we know who they work for. Everybody that's talking about Obama, and not just talking about it, but over and over again. Right? Again, I want to clarify. Not because you're talking about Obama, that's an issue. But if you got a whole bunch of videos talking about Obama and Hunter Biden in this moment, while our government is currently covering up the Epstein files and literally shutting down Congress so they can escape from voting to release the files, if in that moment, while the door is quickly closing on any chance of us ever getting these files out, if you are posting not just one video, but multiple videos about Obama, which is literally what Trump wants you to be talking about, you are state media. Michael Knowles. I don't see any Epstein videos. I believe he has done one of the slick things these guys do. There's an Epstein video from 7 days ago. So he hasn't found anything interesting about the Epstein files in a week. All the breaking news that we've had, all the developments, the active cover-up by the Republican Party, and Michael Knowles, not interested. But props to him for not being state media and focusing on what the government wants him to focus on, which is Obama and Hunter Biden. So Michael Knowles is in a lane by himself. So there's something about him and what he's up to that's a little bit of a deviation from the other right-wing channels. Rubin Report. Oh boy. I'm not expecting much here at all. So he's talking about debt, trying to act like he cares about people in debt. Now she's pissed. Of course, he had to talk about Joy Reid. For some reason, he really has no interest in talking about Epstein. Okay. Black conservative perspective. Oh, certainly this guy's talking about Epstein. Because his audience, he's a bunch of black conservatives certainly would care about this stuff, right? So he's going to talk about what they care about. Wow. So his audience cares about Letitia James, this kid that got punched by the cops, Obama, liberal this, liberal that, Hunter Biden again. So that's actually interesting. So this is the black, we don't believe in identity politics, black conservative. What kind of conservative are you? I'm a black conservative who's actually brown. So this guy will talk about Hunter, but he's not talking about Obama as much. He did one video here, but he's not all over the Obama. Interesting. Now let's get to the liberal and left-wing media. Let's see if we see any patterns. So, Epstein, talking about them blocking the files. Notice that wasn't not a single right-wing channel made a video about how the Epstein files are being blocked by the Republican Party. They do mention Obama, I presume giving some context, but they're not Obama. Epstein again, Epstein again, Epstein again. And this is all within a day. Multiple Epstein stories. Epstein again, telling you about how Trump is reaching out to her. No one in the right-wing media is talking about this. There's no video. You saw the channels. No one posted a video how Trump, his people are talking to her behind the scenes. What are they up to? Knowing that she wants to get out of prison. So what would she do? What would she tell Trump? What could Trump get her to say? Right? Not being covered at all. So if they work out some kind of shady deal, right, and she comes out, she says stuff, the right-wing audiences will be blindsided, right? They're not being informed of what's going on behind the scenes. MSNBC. First video is Epstein. Epstein again. There's Epstein video, Epstein video, Epstein video, literally back-to-back Epstein videos. They're talking about Obama, but in reference to reality, which is that it's being used as a distraction. Here we got Epstein. I mean, this is like MSDNC, so of course they're talking about Epstein. The Young Turks. Epstein files. Epstein files. Epstein files. So the Young Turks has a lot more interest in the Epstein files than the average right-wing media channel, which means that the right-wing folks that are talking about they care so much about these kids and girls are, as I've been saying, lying. They don't really care about the kids. They don't really care about the Epstein files. David Pakman. Epstein. 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 They reference Obama. Epstein again. Epstein again. Epstein again. So we're getting a lot more coverage of the Epstein files on left-wing media. Now, you can say whatever you want about left-wing media. I am not a fan of many of these partisan propagandists. However, the fact of the matter is they are covering this much more than right-wing media. In fact, right-wing media is currently helping in the cover-up. So Brian Tyler Cohen, Epstein, Epstein again, so he's all over it. Ring of Fire. First video is talking about Hillary Clinton's emails as a distraction from Epstein. Epstein again, so he's definitely covering it. Majority Report. Epstein. I'm pretty sure this is about Epstein as well. Epstein again. Epstein again. So what this tells you is that the folks on the left are far more interested in the Epstein files than the folks on the right. The folks on the left are not the ones who are saying, we got it, the truth. I mean, some people are saying that, but the loudest voices talking about we need these files is coming from the right. But their actions don't match, right? The idea that the Republican Party could be actively blocking those files right now while they care so much about it, and no one is being threatened with being voted out of office. That's to tell you. Put your money where your mouth is. You really care about these files? The people that you voted for are blocking the files. And they're doing it because you're letting them. So I'd have to assume you're letting them because you don't really care. So this is Rational National. So he hasn't been posting a lot of videos, period. I see this is 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago, 12 days ago. So he, as an outlier, doesn't seem to be very interested in the Epstein files. Dun dun dun. Progressive Politics Network. Is this that crazy buffoon who lies in all his videos saying Trump is dead or whatever? Trump runs away. Epstein, CNN, Ghislaine. Yeah, it's got to be that guy. He changes his channel name every few weeks. That's like that guy Christo. Gotta be. Biggest buffoon in left-wing media. There he is. Mr. Christo. What a freak. Washington Post. Epstein. So it is very clear that the left wing is much more interested in the Epstein files than the right wing is. Even though the right wing is making the biggest noise, the left is the ones that really care more. Now, when I say care more, what do they really care about? Do they care about the girls and the women? Now, keep in mind, they're not the ones who have been saying that. They're not like, oh, these poor women, we got to go protect the women or whatever, right? I think the main message is just like transparency and put the files out, and obviously they want Trump's blood, right? They don't care about Clinton. Like on average on the left, they're like, Clinton's in there, all right, lock him up too, right? But ultimately, I would say the major thing is seeing blood in terms of Trump, right? Pinning him on something. Otherwise, people are just like, the public has a right to know. It's the right wing who's getting really virtuous, and the women and the girls and this and that, right? And the elites and we can't let them get away, right? This has been their deal, right? Right-wing media has been telling them about the Epstein files for years. Epstein. And now we have a moment where they could finally get the truth to come out. And the same people who claim to have cared about it are enabling the cover-up that's happening right now. What an absolute joke. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell.